came home last night and I was traumatized. It was like black evil, horrified Satan. Where they've been leaving a shrine with Bob's Offspring's faces and things from John Saw conference brochures and things that say Alex Asico, sacrifice Sherry, in my bathroom before you get to where the jacuzzi is in the hall, like to one of the parts of the bathroom where I had a hanging rack. And they've also been leaving it in my closet. They had the original Jack Canfield card he'd given me, chicken noodle soup, and more Jack Canfield things. And they had Marlene Mendoza things, and they had the business card the getaway driver for the mob had given me at the Barnstable party, asked me if I could get her in touch with someone that could promote her new book, that she wasn't with the mob anymore, but she wanted to write about what it was like being their getaway driver. She was dressed in a cool hat, and she was very polite, and she was with, I think it's Chuck Bannister, the guy that hosted Politically Incorrect, because he's heavily into politics. And they wanted to get to know me. Somebody introduced me to him, and then he introduced me to his girlfriend. And I said, well, I don't know anybody, because she knew I had just published the Starweediest book, my Christian book, my favorite books, my Christian book. And somehow she knew. She said she knew that I had published a book. So I said, well, you can give me your information. And I had his email. I said, I'll see what I can do. And then the person that kept trying to get me to go to the Venetian, Marlene Mendoza, and invest in movies, where George Clooney did that movie, Intolerable Cruelty, she kept wanting me to get into the business with her. This older lady, I didn't really get to know her, but she went to Harvard. Well, she was there. That card had Marlene Mendoza and had Jack Canfield chicken noodle soup. And that kills me. It really does, because he's the one that I think flew Tava Bretts to Santa Barbara. And he lived where the guy was that wanted to meet me the first conference and hung out with me a couple of conferences. That really elderly gentleman, his name was Dan Pointner. And he'd introduced me to some of his friends. And he was a much older man, but he wrote a book called Parapublishing. He owned Parapublishing, but it was a parachute book, because he liked flying, jumping out of parachutes. And so he lived in Santa Barbara, where this guy lived, and he was always perfect. But one time he said John Saul saw him talking to me. He said he threatened to destroy his career, destroy his life. He's shaking in his shoes after he'd been talking to me for 2 conferences. We were sitting in the lounge when it came on the news that Princess Diana had just been hit in the car. That was my, I think, first or second writers' conference. And he was sitting in the lounge with the other writers, and he was sitting talking to me, wondering when she's going to be okay. And then that's how far back it goes. But he said, Sherry, John can ruin my whole career. He was shaking. He goes, I can't even talk to you anymore. He's threatened my life and my career. So he lived where Jack Canfield lived. But what really scares me the most is Jack wanting to feel my energy, and someone sending me a threatening video of a wizard keeping a woman beneath like Disney energy, draining her life force, surrounding her with demons. And then he comes at the end, it looks like Jack in the video, and he takes my soul away with all the demons, and they take me to hell after a year's torture. I was scared to death to get that in my closet yesterday. And it had Angelica, the tape demo tape I had did, that in a Music Row that I wanted to give to Frankie, a song I'd written about my best friend, the nun. He put that with it. And more rings, more death threats. This witch's coven. They all came here, and they started moving witches here when they saw I had a gift. And I'm scared, because John Saul puts this, all of us killed, me and my family. And he's a part of that, I believe, the same Star Wars group, and he has CIA symbols at his page. He had the NATO symbols before NATO ever even went and started setting up around the world. I think they're warlocks, but I think he's supposed to be some master wizard, because they keep saying they're going to take me to the wizard. And because he opened a real estate agency here right in Old Louisville, and they started putting children in homes where murders occurred. The tour guide told Alana, my stepdaughter who visited us twice, but she wanted to go on this tour. They were putting children, he didn't know why, in homes where murders occurred. He said, and I don't know why, but all the witches are coming from all around the world, and vampires, and they're buying all the houses in Old Louisville. They're haunted. And Jack Canfield opened a real estate agency there. So I am scared to death.